Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Knicks and Bruises. I got a great panel tonight. I got Sim. I got the Queen. Welcome, guys. Welcome, ladies. Thank you for joining me. Yo, Black is time. Let's get right into it. We got a schedule. Uh, if you haven't seen it, there's a video out. Sim just put it up as well of Randle. Smacking the laptop down from the video coach or video guy on the team. Had to be restraint, had to get in between by Johnny Bryant. And this is just like another thing to add to the long list of, you know, emotional reactions and things of that nature from Randall this year. And yeah, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. It's gonna become a stigma of his. It's gonna become something that refs look out for. It's gonna affect him negatively from all different angles. Not to mention, he's had it out with the fans. The fans that had enough with him. There's rumors of him and Tibbs riffing. There's rumors of, all types of things. So I don't know. What do you guys think of the situation? Where can this lead? Is there any salvation? Or should we really start looking in a new direction? What's your thoughts? And welcome, of course. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for the invite. Salute to you and Sim in the chat. I got mixed feelings about it. Like a part of me is in the heat of the game. You can get frustrated, and a coach or assistant coach or another player can come to try to tell you something, and you just don't want to hear it. That can happen. I've seen it happen on every level. But I think the bigger issue is him being emotional and not being able to contain it. Like there's a fine line between emotion and passion, right? I don't have a problem with passionate guys. I don't have a problem with emotional guys. But just being able to contain it, like when he gets emotional like that, to me, he plays worse. To me, he's just out of it. Um, and with the spotlight already on him, like I think this is just another distraction because of course the video is out already. So it's just another something he has to deal with right when it seemed like he was clearing the whole fan issue with the fan. Like here we go again. So he needs to, I don't want to say grow up, but he needs to harness his emotions a bit better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree 100%. I think it happens all the time. You know, players, coaches get into arguments, players and players get into arguments, all of that. And it's okay. You know what I'm saying? If he looked at him and said, "All right, whatever," and walked away, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? You didn't like what you heard, or you didn't agree with him. It is what it is. But you get mad, you slap the laptop, and then he don't back down. The trainer, he don't back down, which he shouldn't. You know what I'm saying? Because if you if you back down, now everybody's gonna do that to you, right? So you don't back down, and then he comes towards you, clearly trying to intimidate him. One, like Steph said, you already got all this heat on you. You know, you got to be aware and know that the cameras. You're on ABC,
Right.
playing the Lakers. The cameras are watching all the time. And then two, what message does that send to Emmanuel quickly, Obi Toppin, who was standing right there watching, on how you treat, your video assistants or
Right.
assistant coaches and things like that,
Right.
you know, and then just managing your anger. You know what I mean? Like manage your anger. You might, you can feel however you're gonna feel, but you got to know how to manage it and know how to react to it.
Right.
And then of course it raises the question, and you've heard it before: is this indicative of a bigger issue? You know what I'm saying? Either a discipline issue with Julius Randle, or him
Lack
having
of.
problem with the coaching staff, him having problems with the coaching staff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I this upsets me more than a lot of other situations because I've been one of the guys that really has gone to bat for Randle, defended Randle, continuously saying it's still a learning process for him, which I still believe all of this stuff that I've said in the past, but it just makes it a lot tougher when it's incident after incident after incident that some of these things aren't really defendable. These reactions, uh, going towards the ref. He's done that a few times. The technicals as of late, it's like it's getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
And I don't, it's tough for me because I've really been defending him, and now it's to the point where I'm questioning: is he the guy, or can he become the guy? Is he even worth keeping around?
Right. And and I'm not trying to take the heat off of Randall with me saying this, okay? But when you start to see multiple things happen like this, right? Sometimes to me, this means that there's a person who has something going on, and I'm not a doctor, right? So I don't want to
Mhm.
speculate, but something going on and it's bottled up inside, and they're not able to express it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so the frustration comes out in different ways. It starts to manifest itself. You know what I mean? Uh, that's just from my experience and being around people and doing the work that I do. I work in human. Well, I've worked in human services for. I worked in human services for like 17 years. You know what I'm saying? And just from my experience, people start to do these little things, and they're lashing out in different ways. A lot of times there's something somewhere going on, and it starts to manifest itself. Basketball, I've always looked at basketball as the rawest form of a person when they're playing, because you have pure emotion when you're playing basketball. It's pure emotion. You know what I'm saying? So things come out. I've seen players who are calm, then all of a sudden during the games they have anger issues, and you're like, where did this come from? Like, this is a
Right.
calm person. And all of a sudden they slamming basketballs and hitting chairs and all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? Basketball is pure emotion on some levels, and it really does tell a story of whether or not someone can handle their emotions. If they got anger issues, they have some other things going on, it could manifest itself on the basketball court, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. No doubt.
that's all good points. But I mean, even if that is the case, which God forbid it is, these are the times where I agree with Kyrie, where if you need a mental health break,
You
you
got
know
to
what I
take
mean.
it.
If you
Take
got
it.
if you got to step away for a minute, you know what I mean. Do that,
Right.
and to me, that's I can't think of the word, but I mean that's the right thing to do. That's respectable. I can respect that, but doing this, I mean
Right.
that's wrong. I mean all the way down to your 4-year old or 5-year, you know what I mean, your child at the game. If he got his eye on anything else, it's you.
Yep.
The entire time you on the court,
Yep.
so he sees all of this,
He sees all of
and,
it.
you know what I mean. So all the way down to your child, to the young teammates, the veterans too, man. You're the leader. Look what Kemba went through, and look how he handled it. and,
Right.
and and we talking about the video guy doing his job, probably trying to show you something that you might have missed, or maybe even trying to show you something that might help you. You know what I mean? Like it may not even been something that was your fault, but just something he sees that might help you, and you brushing him off and hitting the computer. I mean, this.
And I seen some people make comments like, "Oh, he's just an assistant. Save that stuff for whenever." I disagree. That's what you have the assistants there for. That's why you have so many coaches. You see how many coaches was in that video. That's why you have these people there, because people are there to watch little things that are happening on the floor, right? And then let you know, hey, if you do this, you might get an advantage here. Or look, you're doing this every time and they're taking advantage of this. You should, maybe try doing this or that. That's what they're there for. So for people
Hmm.
who say, save that stuff for the locker room. No, you're in the middle of the game. This is when you want
Hmm.
those adjustments. That's what everybody's talking about, right? Everybody
Hmm.
wants the coaches to have to make adjustments. You make adjustments this way. That's how you make adjustments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I mean, go ahead, Queen. I'll ask my question when you're done.
yeah. I mean, someone in the chat said that he's showing that he can't be coached. I would say even more. That may be true, but even more than that, he's showing that he's having a difficult time dealing with adversity. You know,
Hey,
and he's been with the Knicks now. What, this is his third year, fourth year.
three.
We've been through some adversity. You know, um, maybe it's the expectations coming into the season, and we haven't reached them, and maybe that's adding on,
Yep.
to it. But it just hasn't been a good look for him for quite some time.
Yeah. And you know, I wonder and I hope that the coaching staff is, talking, say, hey, you gotta get yourself together. I wonder, you know what I mean? If they're having these conversations with him or not.
Yeah,
And
You
and
know,
and,
'cause
and this is
and
where I think we miss. I'm sorry, guys.
Woodson, Mike Woodson. I was gonna say the
I was
same
gonna
thing.
say that, yeah,
The
more than his
same exact thing.
offense.
The
People, well,
same
we need
exact
him
thing.
for the
Because
offense. We need him
he's
for
dealt with
this.
that. He's dealt
Yeah,
with that with somewhat of you know what I mean. And I'm not comparing the two, but he's dealt with some, let's say, knuckleheadish individuals and kind of straightened them out. It's a little bit straightening, and he'll be all right. So I mean, and that's what I was gonna say. Do you think? Do you think this is a product of lack of accountability on Tibbs towards Randle, during his tenure?
it could. I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing. What we don't know is if he was doing these things even last year because he was playing so
mhm,
well last year. There wasn't the same type of spotlight on him.
right.
Right? It was a different kind of spotlight. The spotlight last year was all positive because he was playing so well. You know what I mean? And now this year the spotlight is okay, let's find out what Julius Randle was doing wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, so anything that he's doing, people are watching it in a different way. Like last year, if he would have did the same exact thing, and maybe he did, who knows, right? People would have looked at it and said, "Hey, he was frustrated over something," and kept it moving. You know what I mean? But
Right.
because of his behavior this year, it's like, see, he continues to do this, he continues to do that. So it's hard to say whether or not this is something that he's been doing or if he just started doing some, just started
I
doing. It's hard to say.
the only reason I disagree with you is because his first year here it wasn't this. You know what I mean? And I think he got the blunt of the blame, the blunt of the pushback from the fans. I mean, even from the signing before he even played the game, there was fans that was saying he ain't it,
Mhm.
and what did we do? So I don't know if that's it. Um,
But
and I'll go.
but
I'll
I even think in the first year it was even though fans were not liking him and all of that kind of stuff, uh, it wasn't this kind of spotlight on him. Not like it is this year. There's a
I mean
totally different spotlight on him this year than it was even in that first year. You know what I mean?
I,
Like the spotlight is like really, really heavy. One because of the money, because of the season that he
I,
had last year.
I mean, yeah,
You know
it's
what I mean?
expectation now. That's
And it's a
that's the that's
national
the
spotlight too.
that's
It's
that's
a
that's the
national
big that's the biggest difference is expectation. Um, but man, I'm gonna get on to some something less heart hurting and
Can I
nicks and
just say
bruises.
something?
Yeah,
Can I say something really quick? In terms of accountability, how much? Well, two things. How much a coach has to do a fine line in terms of accountability. When you somebody in Pop's position and you in Spo's position, where you have the full backing of the front office, You could say whatever you want, do what whenever you want to do it, and you're not going where you have that that job security. Who knows if Tibbs have that, or if he feels that he can call Randle out in public. But behind the scenes, I think with a player like that, it's about relationship building. You get a very emotional player like that, you can get on them, but if you have a relationship with them, you can get on them and you could talk about things like this. If
Well,
Tibbs is just going to be that guy that's just going to get on you when you're not doing well, but he's not doing that relationship building, it's going to be hard for Randle to grow through this period. And that's why I was hoping, like, with Woodson was here, hopefully he has a good relationship with Woodson, pull him to the side and can talk to him and kind of support him through, because clearly he's struggling.
hmm
But Kenny Payne is here too, so I'm
that
not sure what's going on with that. If they
that
have that relationship, or
that
if
was gonna be
Randall is
my.
even open to people having that
Mhm.
type of relationship or conversation.
Well, that was gonna be my direct responses. Like, granted, Woodson's not here, but Payne is, and
Right.
Payne should, like, Payne knew him from a child, pretty much. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't a man yet, and
Yeah.
and Payne knew him. So that relationship should be strong enough to where he can pull him aside, talk to him. You know what I mean? Like, he probably has a relationship with his parents and things of that nature. So yeah, something's got to change, man. For real.
And
This
Kenny Payne did step in that situation,
He did.
right? He stepped in,
He was
got Randle out
the
the way,
initial one. Yep,
you know,
before
you know,
Johnny Bryant walked him.
right, and got him out the way, and then said something. If you look, he said something to the video assistant as well. Um, Now Tom Thibodeau did, I guess he was asked about it in shoot around earlier, and after the shoot around, and he said the issue has been resolved. I think that's all. I didn't get a chance to look at the interview or anything, but I think that's all he really said, is that it's been resolved. What that means is what that means. I don't know.
I tell you what it means is, don't ask me about it again, because it's gonna be that same response of, I already addressed this,
But maybe he
and
apologized or what have you.
which is great though.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe it was, it's kind of like, listen, they sat down, had a discussion, worked it out. We figured out what was going on, and whatever, whatever. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe that's what it means. I don't know. But the thing is, you're on the same team. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
You're on the same team. You're supposed to be working towards the same goal, and
Exactly.
frustrations are gonna boil over. It's gonna happen, but you got to be smart enough to know, you don't do that when it's, especially when it's going to be on that national television. You know, go into the locker room whenever you get that chance, have that discussion. You
But
know what
I
I'm
don't
saying,
think
about why you did or did not like whatever he was saying, or when if you don't want to be addressed at that moment, don't address me now. Address me at this point, at that point, whatever.
Right.
the,
You know
Right.
what I mean?
the sin the problem with it, is, like, when you really just analyze it, there's nothing you can say that justifies his actions. You know what I mean? There's nothing that Randle could say that could be like, whether he was upset, whether he didn't like what he was saying, whether it was pointing out something good, whether it's pointing out something, like, it was wrong. You know what I mean? Like,
It
it,
was,
it
but in the heat of the moment, that can happen easily. That's why I'm saying it's not even this. To me, it's not even about this particular incident. It's just all of them together. Because
Right.
if this was just an isolated incident, I don't think any of us would be saying much about it, because it can happen. You in the heat of the
mhm.
moment, you frustrated over something. He trying to show you a video about something. I don't want to hear that right now. So it happens. Now, I'm not saying it's the best look for him. I'm not saying he's right,
I'm
but it
saying
does
this
happen.
bad. It's bad because we continue to witness this,
Right.
like
I
you're
agree with
saying,
that.
and
I
and
agree.
so now it's like, how many times can we isolate the incidents when they keep happening? At some point, they gotta pile on top of each other. You know what I
No,
mean?
I agree with
Oh,
you. I agree
right, right.
100%.
That's exactly right. I mean, I'm just saying, like, what what he whatever they spoke about, maybe it came down to him, them having a discussion, him saying, listen, maybe even apologizing, saying, yo, I lost it. I apologize. Next time, can you do this?
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Not excusing. I don't know. I'm just saying, a proper apology would have been, not excusing his actions, but
Hmm.
just saying, next time, do this for
I
me.
mean, I,
You know what I mean?
I agree, Sim, and I've been the guy defending Randall all the time. But like Queen said, like I just said, the accumulation. You know what I mean? Because
Accumulation.
at the same time, like he could apologize every single time. At some point, even that, you know what I mean? Even that don't change the accumulation of incidences.
No, I'm just talking about when Tom Thibodeau says it's been resolved.
Okay, okay,
When
Right.
Tom Thibodeau says it's been resolved, what does that mean? And that could mean that, they had a discussion about it, and this is,
Right.
you know, that's what I'm talking about.
I
Right.
hear you.
Obviously, Julius Randle, he's, got some things happening that need to be resolved in and of itself.
Yeah.
All right,
No doubt
so
about it.
let's just say this. Let me before we move on. Last question to you guys, and I'm gonna just tell you, I don't know the answer. Like I don't even want to be
Don't be asking us
optimistic.
nothing you don't know the answer to.
do, do you think it's salvageable? Randall, New York, um, everything, the combination of everything that's gone on this year. Do you think I'll put it like this? Do you think he plays out his contract here?
Mm,
I don't know if he. I don't know. I mean, it's early because his contract hasn't
It
even started
starts.
yet,
Yeah, it hasn't started.
right? But do I think it's salvageable? I think, yeah, I think it's That's I think it can be salvaged. It's going to be based on Randall and his play and his attitude. You know what I
right.
mean? If Randall, uh, is able to look at himself and say, "Yo, I'm messing up,"
Hmm.
you know what I mean, and make a change, then yeah, it's salvageable. That's it's going to be on
Yeah.
Randall. Though. The responsibility to me is on Randall.
Yeah.
Agreed. Let
Yeah.
me
I
just
agree.
add. Let me just add to that, Sim, because I don't think it's also. I think it's based off his play. I think it's based off his success, but I think now it's ultimately based off the team's success as well. Because now it doesn't even matter if he. Let's say this year's a wash, whatever. But even moving forward, he could put up all NBA numbers again, better numbers than last year. If we're not winning, if we're not in a good position, the fans are still not gonna, you know what I mean? They're still not gonna accept that.
The
I think.
fans, but when we talk about
Yeah,
salvageable, you talking about the fans or the front office?
yeah.
I mean, I'm talking about both, but even the team, like if we're not, if he's putting up 20, let's say 30 and 10
Mm.
and 7, but we're not winning games, you know what I mean? Like
You got to
they're
go
not gonna.
find that man some help. I don't think. I don't
Yeah.
think.
He's
I don't
putting up
think.
those kind of numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, you just got to find him some help.
And then of course it depends. It's going to depend on how what style of basketball is he playing. Is he playing the
Right.
style of basketball that looked like the first half of Los Angeles, or is he playing just some more ISO ball? So if he was in,
Right.
if the Knicks were in that situation and he was really playing good basketball, where he was, it looked more like the way the Knicks played in the first half versus Los Angeles, but they were still losing games. I think they look and say, well, you know what? We need to add more. But if the basketball looks bad and he's not, he's putting up numbers, but it's not a team oriented style, then I think they'll be like, let's let's let this thing ride. But I do think
Salvageable,
I think it's salvageable. I think it's on Randall though.
no doubt,
I
no
think
doubt.
Yeah.
responsibility is on Randall to make it.
Shout out to the chat for sure. I see you guys out there. Appreciate you guys joining. For sure. I'll say this: if he can get through this storm, and I don't even mean like this year, but I'm saying come back and be better and win, it's gonna be worth the you know what I mean, the journey. it's gonna be worth it. He'll be looked at and appreciated a lot more and a lot differently from dealing with the bad times. But I think how you deal with it also
It's
determines
very
how
important.
people look at you
No
as
doubt.
well.
Yeah,
No doubt.
Um,
no doubt.
When you saw him in the first half of the Lakers, you was like, look how dynamic he could be. Like
Yep.
you saw him play, you be like, yo, the Knicks got one. If that was him on a regular, but you just don't know what you're gonna get.
sure. Same with RJ, man. But
RJ's
RJ's
more
been doing
consistent
it
now. Yeah.
on the regular
Yeah.
as of late. I mean, we talk
Yeah.
about a good month and
Yeah.
starting off
And some.
the next month even better.
It's
Um,
it's even it's been even more than just a month for RJ for real.
Yeah. All
I
of
got
January. Was it a
people.
bit before January?
Listen, I'm gonna talk about it a little bit on the game preview, but since December the 1st, he's been averaging
mm,
21 points a game, shooting
Okay.
okay,
37% from the 3-point line.
Okay.
so now we're talking
And
third.
so I mean, you're talking about a good sample size.
Yeah, no doubt.
Good sample size with RJ, man. So
Well, but
yeah,
even better, he's also improving since
and
December to
Yeah.
January
exactly.
Yeah.
to now February. So that's even a better
Absolutely.
analogy or analysis. Um, I want to talk about a couple of these rumors real quick. I know we're gonna probably get into the more on MBK next, but so we'll get through them and just give our quick thoughts on them. So Kenneth McMillan, he tweeted out he's hearing close sources to the situation in Charlotte expressed interest in Kemba Walker, the package of Ish Smith, and a second round pick being discussed, says sources. So I mean, at this point, I think we all agree that the Kemba Walker signing isn't working or hasn't been working. Um, Ish Smith, I'm not sure what his salary is, if it's exactly 9 million or close to whatever Walker's making. But if that is the complete package of what we're doing, are we doing it? And what are your thoughts on it? And what do you think ends up being the roles of the current players based off of just that move, if it happens? Um, so
I think
basically,
Ish Smith would start.
is he starting? Okay,
I
okay.
think I mean, who else? I think he would start over. I think he would start over quickly. I think he would start over Burks. I don't think he would start over Rose, but I don't know when Rose gets back if
Hmm.
Tibbs is open to starting him. Listen, Ish Smith is not a spectacular point guard by any stretch, um, but he got that mid range. You know, he can finish at the rim, and he has pretty good vision. You know, he's undersized, I believe, right? Like maybe 6'1". He doesn't look that big when he's out there.
Nah, he's small. He might be smaller than Kemba.
He might be smaller than
Really,
wow.
I think.
I
really.
still think he's better than Kimba right now.
Oh,
I've
he
seen him
is.
fill in for Charlotte for a few games. I'm like, look at Ish. No matter where he goes, he makes an impact.
Let's
So
see. I'm gonna look it up right now. What is Smith
I,
is?
I, I would be
Is
okay
Smith?
with that.
Oh, he's 6 foot 175, so same size.
And whew, and you said you're looking up his height or his contract. You know how much he make?
Uh, I can look up his contract too. My thing is this, right? I don't have a problem with Ish Smith, but to me, it's where does the front office is the front office still feeling like we trying to we can make the playoffs with this team,
Hmm.
Right.
And
or
if
are
not,
you in a situation that's like, you know what, let's build for next year. If we make the playoffs or the play-in, cool. If not, we're just gonna settle in, but we're gonna focus on building for next year.
Right.
You know, so I guess for me, it's where the front office wants to go. Uh, I would much rather see Miles McBride get some playing time than Ish Smith.
okay,
Because I don't look at Ish Smith as being
long term.
long-term
Right.
guy, and at
Right.
this point, we need to see what a guy like Miles McBride can do. And I'm not saying start him,
Hmm.
but make room so that he can play. However you do those lineups, and then I want to see Cam Reddish play as well.
So you're not opposed to the move. You're saying you just want to see McBride included in the rotation somehow.
Well, I'm not opposed to the move if they think, you know what, we're still. I mean, and obviously the Knicks are still within earshot of getting in the play-in, but if they're still looking at trying to get this push towards the playoffs, all right, go ahead. But if it's more like, let's take a look at, let's see what we got coming up. See if we have guys that we think we can really build with from that point guard position. Then I wouldn't see the purpose of Ish Smith. So
Right.
to me, it just depends on the direction of the front office.
Right.
So two things. I seen a tweet where somebody was like, uh, "Oh, Clyde would have his new favorite point guard on the
Yeah,
Knicks because he's always talking about Ish Smith when he's playing us." Oh, I thought that was hilarious. The reason I like this trade more than anything else is not even for us. It's more for Kimba going back to Charlotte. And it's not even like a good riddance thing. It's just like I think he'd be comfortable there. He wouldn't have to be the starter and have the pressure of being who he was. He gets to add to his accolades and stats in that organization. You know what I mean? So I think it's like a feel good. It's like no sour taste in his mouth after trying to come home and it not working out. So I think that's a great move for him to really kind of not have the pressure. Could be a backup, even a third stringer, maybe, I don't know. But I think that would be dope. Um, Second round pick at this point, it's like really take what I could get for Kimba, because I really think it hasn't been working. And then if it's Ish Smith, if it's Deuce, if it's whatever they decide, I rock with that. But
Yeah.
obviously, I think Kimba hasn't been working. I think even bringing Ish in, it's easier to bring him in on a trade and not play him, and somebody else in the
Right.
rotation move up, or out of the rotation move in, because these guys have been here and to have seen them, and et cetera, et cetera. So and it takes away that sour taste of benching Kimba and not playing him, or having that
Right.
decision to make.
right. Nah,
So
nah, I get it.
Yeah.
See, the reason why, like for me, I'm a big proponent of the best players play. Right? And for me, um if you want to see some young guys, then you don't put players there that are better than them. You know what I mean?
Good
I'm just a
point.
big proponent of the best players play on the floor. And if you want to see some guys that are developing, putting players out there, unless it's just like an older vet, like Taj Gibson, right?
mhm.
Uh, um, so I mean, I don't know. I just wouldn't see the purpose of Ish Smith if you're not trying to continue that playoff push. This
Well,
one.
I think
Yeah.
I think until they're mathematically eliminated, like no matter what, they're gonna be on that playoff push. And then just to give a little pushback, I feel like if Deuce, like, that might be encouraging for Deuce. Like, he might look at Ish and be like, all right, this is the guy I might be able to beat out. You know what I mean? Like, it might push him a little bit harder than maybe like trying to beat out a Kemba, or I can't even say that, because when Kemba got benched, it's not like we seen an increase in Deuce's minutes per se. But I mean, I don't know. I think it's a lateral move at worst, and could potentially help us at least through this year. I don't. Do you know how long his contract is?
Let me see.
While he's looking it up, I think Sim brought up a good point for another reason, and I agree. When you have players that are better than you sitting on the bench and you're starting these young players over them, it kind of sends the message that we're not trying to win. It sends the message that this is a play season. You know, we got better players than you guys on the bench. We didn't move them. Like Sim would say, that's better. Move them. If you move them, you got young players. Now you can go out. You playing to win. You're playing hard. You're just not good enough. But when
But
you have people that are better on the bench and you have these young guys playing, basically you're sending a message to the league as well. We got better players that can give us a better chance of winning, but we're
mm-hmm,
not going to do that already because we see we're not going to make the playoffs. We just gonna we're just gonna give them run. If you ask me, and I could be wrong with this, that's one of the reasons I still believe we lost out on Kyrie and KD, and I could be wrong. But when DeAndre Jordan was here for that little bit of time sitting on the bench, he saw the inner workings. He saw we wasn't playing Cantor, we wasn't playing him. We was prioritizing Mitch. That sent the message that we was trying to get Zion perhaps on the low, like not really want to say it, but trying to
mm-hmm.
increase our chances. And I think that kind of sent the message like, yo, they're not really trying to win. If you go out and you play 100% and you lose and you get into the lottery, fine. These guys are trying to get in the lottery. They got better players. They not playing them. I kind of believe that he kind of went back and told them, now I don't know if you guys want to play there. I could be wrong, but I think he was whispering in their ear something. I don't know if
I,
that
I
was totally the reason why they didn't come, but that might have been part of it.
I think that's a fair assessment. I think at that point I would have played Mitchell over DeAndre anyway. I I thought now the argument for Cantor being a double machine, like still actually
Mm-hmm.
producing night in and night out, that's a different argument.
Right,
But I think DeAndre was on his he was on his his last leg anyway. Um, and I think Mitch showed that he was equally as productive, but still had the production, the potential to produce more, be better. But to you guys' point, isn't not bringing in a better guy the same thing as not like playing a guy if he's there? Because
Mm.
I'm not an opponent of
yeah,
put the better person on the bench
Because
at all.
for me, it goes to the culture of your team,
right,
right? Because
right.
if you're always preaching, if you do the work in practice, you do the work in the games,
Mm-hmm,
you are producing, you're gonna play. But so if you're preaching that, but then you're playing a guy who you're giving the guy all the minutes that can't really produce, and you got a guy on the bench that can produce more than him. I think it goes opposite of what you're preaching. So that's why you say, we're not going to bring these guys in that are better because we want to get a look at these guys and do this, and that. So that way there is no other competition. You know what I'm saying? And it still is, maybe sending the message to people that say, "Yep, we threw up the flag for this season.
yeah, that's.
We're taking a look at these guys." But within the culture of your team, what I'm saying, it's still the best guy plays.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, all right.
Instead
So
of having, guys sitting on the bench that are better than other guys, and you're still preparing for trying to win the game. You know what I'm saying? With the
Right,
players that you have, you're doing all the prep work, you're doing all of those type of things. You know what I mean? Um,
right.
I think that's probably the best way to go about it instead of having, because I could just, if it was me, right,
mm-hmm,
and I was in Ish Smith's spot and I'm there and Deuce is getting 30 minutes and I'm getting 10, you know, and you're trying to say, you got Tom saying, yeah, we're still fighting for the playoffs. We're still trying to get in the play in, right?
mm-hmm.
Me, I'm probably checked out. Like, all right, I see what's going on. I play, but I got
You,
my eyes set elsewhere too.
you you
You know what
know
I mean?
you know why I think Ish is the perfect guy though. Number one, I think he's way better of an option for that. Even if they do that, that's a better option than doing that to Kemba, right? Like we already seen the backlash early in the season doing it to Kemba. I think it's the same type of thing late in the season. So I think getting off of Kemba's contract, I think that's important. I think the fact that I think Ish played for like 13 teams already. You know what I mean? Like when you talk about journeyman, definition of a journeyman, I think that also shows that he's a professional. You know what I mean? So he's probably been in this situation more than a couple times where, maybe a guy that might not be as good as him is ahead of him. You know what I mean? So familiar with dealing with it, and I think he's a consummate pro. You know what I mean? Like similar to Kemba, but without the name. So it doesn't look as bad.
No, I get
And
that.
It's
you
not
know, and
even him. I don't think Ish Smith would have the problem with it. It's the
Right.
optics. Instead
you
of
think
you saying you trying to go to the playoffs, just keep it real. We out of the playoff hunt, and so we're gonna prioritize our young guys. To say we trying to get into the playoffs, and you got Ish Smith sitting on the bench, and you starting, you know,
I mean,
McBride. Are you
Yeah,
really trying to
because
get into
like
the playoff?
yeah, because to me it's just more about culture, not just one individual player how you might take it. Because some people will be like, "Hey, I'm cool with that," you know what I mean? But just for me, it's the individual. It's the overall culture saying we're gonna prioritize players that work hard, play hard,
hmm
and earn their spot out there on the floor, right? Like that's what we're prioritizing. But then you do something different. You know what I mean? So that's where and Ish Smith might be cool with it. So for me, it's not about just the individual player itself. It's more about what are you practicing what you preach?
hmm
You know what I'm saying? And are you serious about setting up this type of a culture where they're gonna earn their spot and we're gonna respect that. You know what I mean?
yeah.
That's just where it is for me.
And last thing, for me with Ish, I actually think he's an adequate enough point guard to acquire and be a part of the plans. I think he
Wow.
he.
How old is he?
I'm not even sure, but I think he has a I think he has a good 5 years left of his career just because his usage rate hasn't been high. You know what I mean? Like he I think he's a Tibbs type guy. Even with his small stature, I think Tibbs has been known to play some small guards in the past. I think he gives 100% energy 100% of the time. Like like he's always been a pest anytime he's played us, even though he's not like all world or just a household name. I think he's just a solid uh veteran guard at this point that could fill in. Hasn't really been on the decline per se. I think his minutes and things of that nature fluctuated just throughout his career. But you talk about a guy that's just always gonna give you that mindset of stay ready, of wait your turn, of earn your spot, you know what I mean? Like all the things that Tibbs preaches, I
That's
think
him.
like that's who he is.
Right. But you
Like
know what?
on
I wouldn't
multiple
mind
teams.
him. I wouldn't mind him going forward over Rose as the backup. I mean, I really
Mm.
like Derrick Rose. I really like him. But how many minutes can he play? How many games can he play? Per season. That's why coming in, I was preferring McConnell. He got
Mm.
injured though. He out. It seemed like he out for the season. But just somebody that you can count on game in and game out. The Knicks got a lot of work to do at that position.
All right,
Oh,
moving right along. Um, Ian Bagley is reporting that the Pistons have been amongst some teams that shown interest in Mitchell Robinson. He didn't clear up what we would be receiving. But I think it's a good time to speculate and ask you guys: are you willing to give up on Mitch? Um, I mean, my response is if they know they're not gonna be in the runnings of re-signing him or
Right.
extending him, then yes, get what you can get for him at this point.
Right.
But if it's my preference,
Right.
I want to keep Mitch. I do whatever's in my power to move Noel at this point. I
Oh, you
mean,
could forget it.
phew, he's been
Nobody's taking.
non-existent for us. I mean, I'd include a first round pick to get off of that contract at this point. So if it's
A
the right
$10 million
move,
contract.
I mean, obviously I want something in return as well. But I mean, whatever we getting back, we got to match up. So
I mean, my thing with Mitch, I mean, what are you getting back? What are you getting back from the Pistons?
Right. Right.
all right, let me ask you this: what's the lowest amount that is acceptable to you if you know you're not going to be planning on extending him or re-signing him?
I mean, that's the one. That's the thing there. If you know you're not going to, it's two
I'm
ways.
only going off that basis, like
Right.
you know what I mean?
Right.
Because
It's two ways to look at it. I
Right.
think. Um, I mean, if you know you're not gonna re-sign them, then
you still have the sign and trade option, so that could be your mindset. You know what I mean? If he's because you
I think
can't
you can
sign
only
it.
do that in the off
Oh, if
season.
the
Am I correct?
right, you can only do
oh
that.
yeah, yeah, that's what I'm referring to. But that
Oh,
that
oh,
would be a reason not to move him now. Saying,
Right.
hey, if we could do a sign and trade, now we could bring back a larger contract based
right.
off of the sign and trade, not
Right.
a $2 million contract, and what has to be some type of draft considerations. You,
Right.
you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I mean, if you know you're not gonna sign them, or you know the relationship is done, however it is, you know what I mean? Then when it, then to me, you wait until the very last minute. You try to juice as much as you can, and then at the last minute, well, I will just do it for this because we're not gonna sign him anyway, right? So you're getting something back. Um, the only issue here is, like, at this point, the Pistons would want him because they know that they will have the upper hand in re-signing him, right? So that would be
Right.
the reason that the Pistons want to sign him now, would want to trade for him now, or else they could wait until the off season and just try to,
they don't want to compete with anyone. They
right?
just
They
want to
don't want to
extend
compete
them.
with anyone.
Right.
They just want to, they just want to extend him or whatever it is. In that case, you probably have the upper hand with the Pistons,
Leverage.
a little bit of
Hmm.
leverage trying to get more for Mitchell Robinson than if you wait until the off season, right? Because in the off season, the team's going to be like, why should I do a sign and trade with you? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I have enough money
Hmm.
to sign them. You know what I'm saying? So why should I do a sign and trade?
Right.
Um,
What can
a
we bring
team
back, Sim?
over the
Mi-
cap,
Oh,
a
sorry.
team, a team that's over the cap. Now they might have to do a sign and trade, a team, that has limited money or whatever. They might have to do a sign and trade. But what would you for
He's
Mitch?
only making 2.8. What can you get back? Like you can't bring back somebody that makes more than that, correct?
Only if you include some other players
Oh,
that
if you
make it
include other
match,
players, right? Right.
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because Mitch makes even less than 2.8. He makes
Oh,
1.8.
Yeah, 1.82 million,
right.
pretty
So who
much.
can you
Yeah.
get back for that? You know?
And that's what I'm saying. For the most part, it's got to be draft consideration, some type of or draft compensation, and one of
No,
the lowest guys on any team's total point. You know what I mean? Like
right?
it's
No,
not going to be a valued guy per se because it's
no,
not many guys
Right.
making that money
right.
that
Un-
produce.
unless you are doing a package. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Right.
like Mitch is the person that they want. Let's just say, for example, Mitch was the person that they wanted, right? He
Mm-hmm.
makes 1.8.
You got to attach
When
Kimba.
they were willing to give up, they say they were willing to give up Amadou Diallo,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the Knicks were like, "Oh yeah, we want Amadou Diallo," even though he has a team option for next season. But then they say, "Okay, we're gonna do that swap," and then the Knicks add in another player that equals, someone who's making $3 million, $4 million
Right.
to equal the salaries. You know what I'm saying? So let's say, could be something that happens in that manner. Um, and
um,
I just threw his name out there because that's the first thing that I looked at. There's nothing to it. I believe they want to keep Amadou Diallo, but
all right, last one before we get out of here is the speculation, or they've been saying two rival teams say the Knicks has emerged as legit suitors for the Trailblazers CJ McCollum.
yeah,
Um, I like it. I think he's a a great player. I think he's I think he could be a perennial All Star. I mean, he does have some shortcomings, but
Mhm.
I mean, I think he's gonna come in and produce right away without a question. And then the skill set is all across the board. I mean, he can shoot, he can pass, he can finish. He's led when Dane was out. You know, he's played the second guy on the team. I love it. I think if it doesn't include Randle or RJ, obviously, then I don't care who it includes. I go for it. I think it's a strong move that shows that hey, we're trying to move this thing forward.
Yeah. Um, and we're gonna talk about this a little bit. I got a little bit of a breakdown of salary and stuff like that on the game preview, but I would do it. I would definitely do it. There's no doubt about it. You know what I mean? His contract goes for another 3 years or another 2 years after this season. And you could essentially trade Evan Fournier and Alec Burks, or Evan Fournier and Nerlens Noel, and match the money. You know what I'm saying? And their contract goes about the same. So, I do it. I do it.
What does
I
Burks
would
make? 10?
Brooks makes
10.
like 10 million a year.
And
Yeah.
what does Obi make?
8.
Obi's less, like 8 or something.
Yeah.
8.
I mean,
I only
I would. Okay, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I think if they do that, they going rebuild route. So I think they take the Fournier just to have a solid guy under contract or whatever, and that's the most money that we could offer coming back. But then I think they want some young guys. Um, so it may be two young guys that
Yeah,
match up to the 10 million. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
it might still be a pick as well. But go ahead.
yeah,
That's what I was gonna say. That if they traded McCullum, they probably want some young players, and so the front office would have to figure out which young players they would want to send back. But I still think it goes back to what Sim said earlier. What direction are the Knicks going in?
yeah,
You know,
Mm.
this means that you really believe in Randall. If you bring in McCullum, you know, that means you're keeping Randall and you're trying to build something. And I'm just having a little, I'm going back and forth with this Rand, I'm going back and forth with this Randall thing. But if you bringing him in, it's basically what you're saying is we're not playing young guys. We think we have enough with him and Randall and RJ to press forward. That's basically what they're saying. And the
right,
question is, do you really can you trust Randall?
yeah.
But
And,
here's the thing.
and now, see, if you did move him, if
Mhm.
you did trade for him, and if you were able to get rid of Burks and Fournier, you open up room for Cam Reddish to play.
Okay.
And that's what I was gonna
As
say.
long as you waive Kimba or something.
No, no, no. Even if we include two young guys, you've
Mhm.
said it yourself in the past. We're still a young team. We have enough young
Yeah.
guys
Yeah.
waiting in the wind
Oh, no doubt.
and still ready to step in. I think a Grimes could get an increased role if he's still here. A Cam could get an increased role if he's still here. You know what I mean? Like hey,
Yeah,
Deuce might get an increased role if he's still here. Like we have a bunch of young guys just waiting in the win, not getting any minutes, and we got young guys that are in the rotation. So I think we have enough pieces to give up two young guys, Fournier because of that money contract that kind of fits. You know what I mean? Like gives up a good chunk, and then a first, and if that's enough, if it's one first, two young guys, and I'll let them choose.
yeah,
I'm rocking with that because we talking about probably still having Mitch, still having RJ. That's two young guys in the starting unit, and then whichever two guys they take out of the rest, we still got three or four more. So
Hey,
Oh, we
hey,
gonna have enough young guys. Go ahead.
I'm a head out because I'm gonna go
Okay.
and get started on the pregame on the game preview. All right.
Okay. We'll see you
we'll
there.
be right there.
I bet.
Appreciate you, son.
No
Yeah.
doubt.
Andy, I
I mean,
see you. Shout out to the chat. King Bernard, David L, Craig, Andy. Oh, two Andys. Who else we got? Sima. Andrew, Kavan, David L, Jay Boogie. I seen you earlier. Jay Rue. Appreciate everybody for joining. What was you gonna say, Queen?
I
Geraldine,
think it's
always here.
Geraldine. Yeah, always appreciate you. I think it's more than are we going to have enough young people? I think if you making a move for McCullum,
Hmm.
basically you trying to win. So other moves are
When
going to
like,
have to
oh, when you
mean
say when you mean
you're
like title.
building. Well, I'm not saying that you're going to be a title contender. You are not, but you're building in that direction. You're continuing to add pieces to hopefully get to that
Hmm.
direction. And I think in that sense, you're kind of going away from young people. Now, I'm not saying that doesn't mean you're not going to have young players on the team. Doesn't mean you're not going to have some young players in the rotation. But you bring in McCullum, basically you saying we're going to be a perennial playoff team. I wouldn't be. I think it changed. I'm not gonna say it changes the direction because this is the direction we always thought they were going after
Hmm.
last season.
Hmm.
But with Randle being so up and down, we weren't sure if they would go continue in that direction or if they would take a step back. You
It
bring in McCullum, basically you're doubling down and saying, no, we're not taking that step back. We're going to continue on the path that we started on this season.
you know what? You know another reason why I do it, because I feel the same way about
Hmm.
as you. I'm conflicted with the Randall thing. It's really frustrating me. As one of his biggest supporters, I'm
Hmm.
like he's on my bad side right now,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I don't. It's not like I was speaking out of my tongue to cheek or whatever. Like
Hmm.
I meant everything I've said about him. Over these
Hmm.
over his
Hmm.
tenure here. But
Hmm.
this particular moment it's been souring me, which got me a little shaky about it. So I say all that to say, if we bring in a guy like McCullum, Randall has to get his act together, or guess what?
Hmm.
You become expendable. And now we're kind of in the same spot we were without or with you,
Right,
shipping you off. But
right.
who know? You know what I mean? But who knows? We still have a trajectory of building off McCullum still,
Hmm.
who's actually like in his prime, not
Right.
coming into his prime, but RJ, who's been on a tear as of late. So I wouldn't mind if we got to move Randall next year now because he's not getting his act together. We could do that and
Hmm.
not be. And I think we still could be a playoff team. You know what I mean? Like
Right, right,
without Randall and with McCullum. And I'm not saying trade them for each other. I say bring
right.
them in, see how it works. But now he becomes expendable.
Yeah.
And now you know what I mean. Now he got to get his act together. You've got all the help I think you need. And let's try this instead of what we tried.
Right. And to still Nick fans, I was about to type the response. Bringing in McCullum seems so backwards right now. It is backwards if your intention is to go with the young people. It is backwards. But if your intention is to continue to build off of last season, it's
Mm-hmm,
not backwards. And again, that's what we're talking about. It just
mm-hmm.
depends on what direction, as a front
The,
office, you want to go in.
the reason I disagree though is just because you're not giving up on all your young guys. You're literally gonna give up two, whatever two reach the $10 million that you need
Hmm.
to reach. That's the two that you're giving up. But guess
Hmm.
what? Two more are stepping in. We
Right.
want minutes for Cam. This opens that door. We want minutes for McBride. Or I don't know if it opens it up for him, but it opens it up for Grimes if he's not included. Or quickly it's still here if Grimes is included. You know what I mean? Like so we're only losing two, and it opens up a spot for
But
for two at
I
least
hear
one.
you. I hear you. But in a way, I feel like if you bringing in McCullum, you gotta all of these young guys. It's too much. Like you bringing in McCullum because you're trying to win. So now
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna bring Reddish, another young guy, into the line. You're gonna bring Grimes,
I,
another young guy, into the rotation. I think you
I
are
mean
gonna be in the
I
same
mean
spot because these
I,
guys are not ready.
I think you have no choice. I think you have no
You
choice.
gotta continue
Like
to build,
yeah,
is what I'm saying.
you're
You
gonna
gotta.
have to, but it's not gonna be the same day as this trade.
Oh
You know what
no,
I mean?
not the same
You know
day.
what I mean? So
But
you
you
gotta
gotta
do one.
continue to
You gotta do
build.
one trade. Like let it simmer a little bit. I mean, if
Mhm.
everything lines up at once, great. But I'm not
Right,
expecting that. I'm
right,
patient with it. I just
right.
think that improves the team. You know what I mean? Like
It,
you,
it it
you,
definitely improves the
you
team. But if the Knicks are really trying to move, they're gonna have to make even more moves after that. But I get what you're saying. It's not gonna happen the same day.
And not for nothing, regardless of what move we do, I think we're gonna have to make more. I don't think
Yeah.
there's one guy that we could bring in that's gonna be like, all right,
Right.
we're here. You know what I mean? So, like, no matter what, it's a stepping stone.
Right.
But I think we got to do something because at this point we're regressing,
Right.
and it's been we could tell. But yeah,
Right.
let's get out of here. I appreciate you joining me, Queen. Shout out to the chat.
Of course.
Next, still Knicks fan. I see you as well. Anybody I miss, appreciate you guys. Love you, and your black is time. We out.